On May 17, 2025, the air in Ouagadougou crackled with historical resonance as Burkina Faso unveiled a monument to a man whose legacy transcends time, Captain Thomas Sankara. Dubbed Africa's Che Guevara, Sankara was a revolutionary leader whose bold vision for a sovereign, anti-imperialist, and egalitarian Burkina Faso cost him his life in a 1987 coup. Nearly 4 decades later, his spirit loomed large over the nation as President Ibrahim Traoré's government inaugurated a towering mausoleum honoring Sankareh and his 12 slain companions. The ceremony, steeped in symbolism, was more than a tribute. It was a reclamation of history. Dignitaries, activists, and citizens gathered at the site where Sankareh was assassinated, now transformed into the Thomas Sankara Memorial. Speakers echoed his famous words, "The dead are not dead." For Burkina Faso, this moment marked a defiant step toward healing the wounds of erasure, finally granting Sankareh the dignified resting place he was denied for decades.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just heard the 21 cannon shots, which followed the official inaugural address of His Excellency, the President of Faso Head of State, delivered by His Excellency, the Prime Minister, Chief of Government. He declared that the enemies are crawling definitely to defeat, and he asked to all the audience to give a standing ovation to the National Forces of Defense. He stated on behalf of His Excellency, the President of Faso Head of State, that this day of May the 17th, 2025, history reminds us all that 42 years ago, the same day, in 1983, imperialist and neo-colonialist forces orchestrated the arrest of Comrade Captain Thomas Sankara, then Prime Minister. In these days that followed, young anti-imperialist fighters mobilized to say no to this criminal act. The seeds of the People's Democratic Revolution had thus been sown. 2 weeks later, Captain Thomas Sankara was released under popular pressure, and 3 months later, from this fertile soil nourished by the people's profound aspiration for freedom, the revolution germinated. This May the 17th, 2025 is therefore a symbol for the refusal of imperialist domination, neocolonialism, and their avatars, war and terrorism. It is also a symbol of our people's determination to face up to their destiny and build a free and sovereign nation. This ideal was carried forward by our predecessors under the PDR, the People's Democratic Revolution, led by the Comrade Captain Thomas Sankara. And today we carry this torch of anti-imperialism struggle with the Progressive People's Revolution. This May the 17th, we honor our duty to remember by inaugurating the mausoleum dedicated to the President, Noel Isidore Thomas Sankara, and his comrades in struggle who fell for the beloved homeland under the murderous bullets of imperialism, local henchmen, and arch-chair Negroes, who fell for the ideals of dignity, freedom, integrity, and sovereignty, fallen but forever alive in our hearts and minds. The choice of this date is no accident and recalls the commitment of peace fighters in Burkina Faso and around the world. It is not then a reunion of sad memorial, but it is to celebrate the heroism of those who fought for the integrity of the nation. This mausoleum marks the start of the major Thomas Sankara Memorial Project, which will be built over an area of around 14 hectares, along with many other infrastructures. The Thomas Sankara Memorial is conceived not only as a place of remembrance, but also as a space for reflection, education, inspiration, and action. Its vocation is to keep the flame of the revolution burning and to remind the world of Captain Thomas Sankara's struggle to break the chains of slavery and imperialist domination and to emerge from oppression. This project is intended to be Pan-African and popular because Thomas Sankara himself was a global icon. He therefore invites everyone to make their contribution to the memorial. He decided on this special occasion to name streets after the 12 companions of President Thomas Sankara. He congratulated the committee, the international committee, and despite the difficulties inherent in revolutionary commitment, they have remained worthy and active in perpetuating the ideals of the father of the August Revolution. He saluted the determination of former companions who have remained faithful to the cause, of civil society organizations, and of all patriotic Pan-Africanist activists here and abroad. It did not pass over in silence the tireless and immeasurable efforts of comrades in different countries around the world who have contributed to the success of this international committee given to the Thomas Sankara Memorial. He saluted all the coordination of the Noel Isidore Thomas Sankara Memorial Infrastructure Construction Project, the architects, the engineers, workers, artists, volunteers, and builders of the collective memory who have contributed to making this mausoleum a place of recollection and inspiration for future generations. He thanked all the distinguished guests from all over Africa and the rest of the world. He mentioned that their presence is an act of solidarity and shared pride because Thomas Sankara belongs not only to Burkina Faso, but to the whole of Africa and to fighting for humanity. As the heirs of this struggle, he said that we are all aware of the responsibility we bear in these times of crisis. He finished his speech by wishing a long life to a free and sovereign Burkina Faso, a long life to the People's Progressive Revolution. I thank you all once more for your kind attention.
To understand Traoré's fixation on Sankara, one must confront Burkina Faso's fractured identity. Since Sankara's 1987 assassination, the nation has oscillated between coups, insurgencies, and Compaoré's corrupt reign. Traoré, a career soldier, recognized early that Sankara's ghost held unparalleled power to mobilize the masses. By exhuming Sankara's legacy, literally and figuratively, he tapped into a visceral yearning for national pride. Traoré's efforts went beyond bricks and mortar. He spearheaded the renaming of 12 streets in Ouagadougou to honor Sankara's slain comrades, a gesture that rewrote the city's colonial-era cartography. These men were not footnotes, they were the revolution's heartbeat, Traoré asserted during the unveiling. The move was strategic. By elevating Sankara's collaborators, Traoré positioned himself as a steward of collective struggle, not a lone strongman. Traoré's Sankara revival also serves as a geopolitical shield. Expelling French troops in 2023 and pivoting toward Russia alienated Western allies, but invoking Sankara's anti-imperialist rhetoric lent Traoré ideological cover. At the memorial's inauguration, delegations from Senegal, Mali, and Chad, nations similarly distancing from Western influence, stood in solidarity. Sankara's fight is Africa's fight, declared Senegal's Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, underscoring Traoré's success in regional alliance building. Even the mausoleum's design reflects Traoré's defiance. Francis Carré's use of locally sourced laterite stone and solar-responsive architecture mirrors Sankara's ethos of sustainability and self-sufficiency. This building is a manifesto, Carré noted, crediting Traoré's government for greenlighting his radical vision. Traoré's detractors argue that glorifying Sankara distracts from his own democratic deficits. Yet his administration has quietly adopted Sankara-esque policies, slashing presidential salaries, launching youth vocational programs, and prioritizing public health in conflict zones. Traoré is no Sankara, but he's the first leader in decades who dares to try, admitted activist Aïcha Diallo, a former Sankara aide. Ibrahim Traoré's greatest achievement may be this. He has forced Burkina Faso and the world to reckon with Sankara anew. The mausoleum is more than a tomb. It is a classroom, a protest site, and a mirror reflecting the nation's unmet promises. Yet Traoré knows stones alone cannot quell jihadist violence or poverty. His true test lies in channeling Sankareh's spirit into systemic change. Land reform, anti-corruption crackdowns, and equitable resource distribution. For now, the memorial stands as a testament to Traoré's political acumen. A leader who understands that in a fractured nation, the past is the most potent weapon to shape the future. As the sun set on the memorial's inauguration, Traoré lingered at Sankareh's grave, a solitary figure in the shadow of history. The message was unmistakable. This is not the end of Sankareh's revolution, but its rekindling. Vive Traoré's resolve. Vive Sankareh's undying flame.